Hello there, people of the internet. It's a cold day here in Florida, but I feel like coming out to the gun range. So, by golly, I'm gonna come out to the range today. Okay, so a little while ago I made a video on this right here. This is a 1933 production 8mm Turkish Mauser. It is in a gorgeous shape for how old it is, considering everything that it has probably been through. And I like the tiger striping on the stock. I actually really like this rifle. I picked this up from my local gun store, and I bought it off of one of the people that work there. And this rifle is actually from a buddy of mine that I normally borrow firearms from, and I am very excited to have this one in my collection. That used to be his, because now I don't have to give this one back. So this here is actually a part 2, like I did the part 1 a little while ago, and I went through and I made some repairs and some upgrades with this thing. And I think that I got the quirks fixed on this thing, but I'm out here, you know, about to range run it and find out just how fixed it actually is. And I figure since I'm going to come out here and spend the ammunition anyway, may as well make a video on it. Speaking of, ammunition is not free. If you want to support my work, Utreon and Patreon links below. That will definitely help me make more content more often. So, I'm going to go ahead and throw my ears on here. This ought to be a pretty quick video. Let me give you guys a rundown of what was wrong with this rifle whenever I had first gotten it. First thing that was wrong was our ejector was not working. It would extract the cartridges. Come on, you. It would extract the cartridges, but our ejector would not be in the proper position to be able to knock the cartridges, the spent casings, out of the rifle. Well, I went through, and originally I thought that perhaps the spring in there was like bent, or, well, anyone who knows how these things work, the extractor kind of is the spring as well, and it adds a certain amount of tension. At first I thought that maybe it was warped or bent or broken or something like that. Well, whenever I'd gone in there and checked it out, as it turns out, there was just a lot of crap that was in there, like a lot of funk. It wasn't allowing that extractor to come forward properly. So I went ahead and I cleaned it out, and that seems to have fixed our extractor, but I don't know fully, which is why we're here to test this out. Another thing is our follower here actually got caught on the back of the receiver. There's a little metal lip on the back of the receiver, and the very edge of our follower would catch on that lip, and it would hang it up and stop it from moving around. Well, I was like, all right, the magazine spring in there is probably, you know, backwards or not in place properly. So I went in there to check out and see what was going on, and the magazine spring was actually broken. So that certainly explains why the follower was being pushed backwards as much as it was. So I actually grabbed one from a Car 98. It's my sporterized Car 98. And the broken magazine spring pushing the follower back doesn't seem to affect that one. And somehow it still works. Don't ask me how or why, but somehow it still works. It doesn't seem to be affected by that receiver, but it does get affected by this receiver. So I just kind of swapped out the magazine spring and the follower. I tried getting the magazine spring off of the follower that was original to this Turkish Mauser, but it was just way too tight in there, and I didn't want to risk breaking anything else because that magazine spring seemed pretty brittle. So I went ahead and I just put the follower and magazine spring into that Car 98, and it seems to work okay. I don't know, I haven't actually cycled it yet. But this right here is actually the magazine follower and spring from the Car 98. And although it doesn't quite line up with this Mauser, it seems to line up well enough to be able to function. Just with the way that, one second, there's something crawling on my ear. Get out of there. I had my headphones out here, outside, sitting on the ground. Okay, that was almost disastrous. But let's see, what was I talking about? The differences between that follower and this follower. This follower has, they both don't hold the bolt open whenever you try and close the bolt with an empty magazine. But just with the way that this one holds itself up in this particular receiver, it's in a manner that kind of stops the bolt from going home on an empty magazine. Like right here's an empty magazine. If I try closing it, it does catch a little bit, like the slightest amount on there. So I go ahead and push that down. And I mean, if I really want to, I can like force my way through it and it's not that big of a deal. But if I keep doing that, I'm going to mar up this follower here, and this is an original Car 98 follower, so I don't necessarily want to do that. So yeah, besides that, let's go ahead, put a couple of rounds through this thing. This is non-corrosive 198 grain projectiles, and the reason I'm using non-corrosive is because I don't feel like cleaning this rifle after this. Now I pulled everything out of the stock here. I'm just wiggling it around, making sure that everything is tightened back up the way that it needs to be. I have not fixed the upper handguard yet. It's not really a big emergency. It's not like it's flexing enough to get cracked under recoil or something like that. All right, that box is in the way, but I'm still gonna send a round downrange to hit our steel target there. Let's see if I can manage to make this shot. Oof. Okay, well, we know the Mauser fires. It fired in the last video. Let's see if the extractor works. Would you look at that? Now this is reloadable 8mm Mauser, so I'm gonna go ahead and save the brass cases. Let's see how well this magazine here works. Put a round, and let's load another one. I don't have a whole lot of non-corrosive 8mm Mauser, so this is 2 rounds. The first round fed from the right. Let's see how well this magazine feeds from the left. Oh yeah, that was flawless. Send another round here. Oof. Yeah, this is an accurate Mauser. I'm just smacking the middle of that plate every time. Extractor, functional. All right, well, I'm very glad to see that this Mauser is officially back up to par. Oof. Man, those 198 grains, they're some potent bastards. I tell you what, that's a serious projectile going downrange. I got a lot of, well, not a lot of, but I have some Turkish 8mm Mauser that I've been running, right? And this Turkish 8mm Mauser is like 155 grain, and it doesn't recoil near as much as this stuff does. Of course, it's a pretty hot load, and it's actually going much, much faster. This stuff right here, 198 grain, should be going rough approximations, about 2,500 or so feet per second, whereas that Turkish stuff will go like upwards of 3,000 feet per second, just with how hot that ammunition is, and that's just from degradation of sitting in poor storage conditions. So those pressures and results do vary based on the cartridges. All right, the one thing I don't like about this Mauser, I don't like how there's like a lack of pistol grip for me to hold my hand onto. I got big, kludgy hands, and they're not very flexible. This particular hand, this particular wrist, I did some damage to in my younger years. And just holding rifles that don't have any sort of additional grip on it to support your hand is a little on the difficult side for me. So you'll see me holding my rifle like this. Ow, that kind of hurt. Holding my rifle like this and taking aim, and I'll actually adjust my hand a little bit to be like this. Does diminish accuracy slightly, than a nice stable overhand grip like this. But I can't shoot like this. Just my hand won't let me. Having some sort of stable pistol grip allows me to get that proper grip on my stock, but I just can't do that with this particular rifle. Not really the end of the world. I have the same issue with all rifles that don't have that extra gripping surface on the stock. All right, well, I'm pleased to see that this rifle is now officially functional, and properly functional at that. I didn't have any hiccups at all, and we smacked our steel, and it seems to be pretty damn accurate. So I am pleased with the results of this. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are down below. Link or description below has a bunch of links to a bunch of stuff. Like, subscribe, share, whatever else I say in the YouTube outro. If you have an 8mm Mauser, then hey, you probably know how fun these things are to shoot, and you probably know how brutal 198 grain full metal jackets are. I definitely prefer like the lighter weight light ball stuff. That does not recoil near as hard as this stuff. All right, you guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt action shotguns aren't more mainstream.